Looking right at our stories and the moments in current affairs that await us, let's get straight into it and see what it is that has been happening in and around us this week, as well as early on in 2023. Intercape CEO Johan Ferreira has won the case and hopes the court will force Minister of Police Bheki Cele to protect his long-distance buses from violent attacks, particularly on Eastern Cape roads. The CEO of Intercape, Johan Ferreira, has urged President Cyril Ramaphosa to find a replacement for Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula as soon as possible to restore stability to the sector and improve the safety of dangerous routes for long-distance buses, particularly in the Eastern Cape. Ferreira's excuse me. Ferreira's request comes after Judge John Smith dismissed Mbalula's appeal against the court order, compelling him and the Eastern Cape MEC for Transport, Edmund Ngata, to develop a comprehensive action plan to stop the attacks on the Eastern Cape's long-distance buses. In his appeal, Mbalula argued that the court erred in requiring him and Ngata to act jointly in circumstances where the Transport Act of 2009 does not allow them to do so. However, the court found that while Mbalula and Ngata must each decide whether circumstances exist that require them to exercise powers vested in them, there was nothing in the Transport Act prohibiting them from acting jointly to facilitate the effective implementation of any measures to achieve the Act's objective. In this case, the preparation and implementation of an action plan. Mbalula needed to persuade the court that his appeal had a reasonable chance of success or that there was some other compelling reason why it should be heard. A 60-year-old man mauled to death by his own pet dogs at the weekend has been identified as former Zimbabwean footballer Philemon Mulala. Mulala played for Mufulira Wanderers in Zambia, is known for scoring 2 goals in the 1984 CECAFA Cup semi-final against Kenya, taking Zambia to its first cup triumph. He also played for the KK11. Police said Mulala's lifeless body was found in his garden of his Lichtenberg home he shared with his wife. Police spokesperson Captain Sam Tselanyane said his wife had been busy on the other side of their home on Saturday when she heard the dogs barking. She didn't bother to go and check what was wrong, as their house is situated on a busy street and the dogs are frequently barking at pedestrians and vehicles passing by. After electricity was restored, she allegedly went inside the house looking for her husband but could not find him. He said he continued to look for she continued to look for her husband and found him in the yard. Tselanyane said that Mulala's wife reported that he had been bitten by his own dogs. Police and emergency rescue services were called and the man was certified dead at the scene. The SPCA were also called and the 3 dogs were removed from the premises. He said an inquest docket has been opened and investigation into the matter continues. In a post on its page, the Football Association of Zambia said Mulala was notably part of the 1984 East and Central African Challenge squad under Colonel Brightwell Banda that won the trophy. Sad news indeed. The Pope has warned of the danger of replacing personal interviews with machine learning algorithms in asylum applications submitted by migrants and urged that ethical reflections be part of the development of technical solutions. You can take the example of asylum applications. It's not acceptable that the decision on the life and destiny of a human being is trusted to an algorithm, said the pontiff in the speech he delivered when receiving on Tuesday, the January 10th, the participants of the symposium organized by the Vatican, Appeal of Rome for the ethics of artificial intelligence, which concluded with the signing of leaders of the 3 monotheistic religions to a document for the development of artificial intelligence governed by ethics. Pope Francis recalled that every person should be able to enjoy human development and solidarity, and that therefore we must be vigilant so that the discriminatory use of these instruments does not take root at the expense of the most fragile and at the expense of the excluded. Thus, he asked that the ethics be increasingly present not only in public debate but also in the development of technical solutions. He said, "I am happy to know that you want to involve your other great religions in the world and men and women of goodwill so that the algorithmics, that is ethical reflection on the use of algorithms, may be ever more present, not only in the public debate, but also in the development of technical solutions." The community has been thanked for helping police to swiftly swoop on 10 suspects after their gift of the givers break-in. "We saw it all on Facebook, so we immediately saw it stolen. We're ashamed," said a relative of one of the arrested, believed to be in possession of stolen property belonging to the NGO following a burglary during the rolling blackouts at its offices. Police were able to recover some of the stolen items. "When we saw this, we couldn't just let it slide," said a relative of a man accused of buying stolen property that belonged to the gift of the givers. The relative of the journalist on Tuesday, the 10th of January in Cape Town, as his family returned to the stolen items to the humanitarian organization. A break-in took place at 4 a.m. On Monday during the scheduled power cuts in Pendleton Estate, where the Cape Town offices of the Gift of the Givers are located. Staff arrived at work at 8 a.m. to find the premises ransacked. By Monday in Belgravia, the man said the seven-year-old nephew had noticed items in the house and alerted his grandmother, who then called the other family members. Among them were a photo frame, a gas tank, and a box with the Gift of the Givers labeling on it. It was stolen items from the Gift of the Givers during the break-in on the 9th of January. A family from Belgravia returned the stolen items. According to the man, the items were bought in a nearby Hanover Park by his relative. By Monday evening, the family was informed that their relative had been arrested. Yesterday morning, a family gathered to pack up boxes and went to a nearby mosque to ask the spiritual leaders for guidance. "We came back and dropped everything off at the Gift of the Givers. Everything that we knew didn't belong to us," the man said. Speaking to an impromptu briefing at the NGO's offices on Tuesday, the Gift of the Givers founder, Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, said 11 people, not 11 as indicated by police, had been arrested. He confirmed several items such as kettle, microwave, and some personal protective equipment were stolen, adding to the previous list of stolen goods, including a laptop, televisions, and clothing meant for fire victims. Time now, 29 minutes after 9 a.m. Parliament's Public Enterprises Committee is demanding answers on the electricity crisis. It wants Eskom to appear before Parliament to give an update on the current situation and, more importantly, the outlook for the year ahead. South Africa has been experiencing power cuts for over a decade, with last year having been the worst. Committee Chair Kaya Makaka says the committee was not always pleased with Andre Tereta's performance. He says the problems at the power utility can be reduced if capable people are employed. The German multinational manufacturer of luxury motor vehicles and motorcycles, BMW, has apologized for its latest advertisement that labeled offensive and racist by media personality and poet Nsigi Mazwai, as well as others. The advert featured a black woman standing next to one of the brand's latest BMW 5 Series models and displayed behind her a phrase, "We are our ancestors' wildest dreams," with the word ancestors crossed out. BMW Group South Africa's product communications specialist Hayley Philander said the advertising campaign was conceptualized to showcase South Africa's diversity and inclusivity and not to question any person's belief systems. The BMW brand was launched in August 2022 for many social and digital assets. It was completely locally produced. Now, the broader campaign was spun off into a number of smaller out-of-home executions, including the one pointed out by you. So BMW South Africa understands the wording of the example might have offended fans of the brand, for which we unreservedly apologize, said Philander. On Sunday, Ntigi Mazwai, who never minces her words, took to social media to express her outrage at the advert. Mazwai said, what level of racism is this now, where things get used to sell, where our things get used to sell white things, she said. Which marketing agency authorized that? And why the F is BMW being racist? They wouldn't do this in any other religious practice, so why do they feel that they have a right to use African spirituality in their marketing campaigns? I'm appalled. BMW is disgusting. Following mixed reactions on social media, Mazwai shared another video of her on social media platforms, hitting back at those who said the advert was not offensive. If the BMW advert was not offensive, nobody would have been offended, said Mazwai. I think what I'm seeing play out now is broken black people, how colonization and slavery have broken black people down for them to think that they are not worthy of being respected. The advert was not targeted at white people or Indian people. Other social media users who joined in to share their views were the likes of Anelem Mdoda, who came very strongly also at the brand of BMW through her own personal platforms. She says, Dear BMW, whilst I have mad love for you, your ad agency does not get it at all. The controversial marketing campaign prompted a debate on social media, with many calling for the ad offensive and racist, and for calling for a recall of the ad campaign in its totality. Ancestral expressions are embedded through clothes, song, and artwork. Tamanku. It is said that there is a major backlash, especially on social media, and an apology may not just be sufficient if this ad campaign is not done away with in its totality. In Pretoria, 3 suspects, including a female police captain, have been arrested on charges of corruption, defeating the ends of justice, extortion, and kidnapping. Police in Mpumalanga have identified the trio as Tsidi Anastasia Mamareko, 56 years old, Santi Matoto Kumalo, who's 44, and Albert Ramuchu, who's 41. The suspects, 1 woman and 2 men, were nabbed in Witbank on Monday afternoon after they had received money in a bid to release undocumented foreign nationals they had arrested, according to Mpumalanga police spokesperson Colonel Donald Mdluli. According to the report, 13 alleged undocumented persons were reportedly taken into police-marked van by 3 suspects for hours, whereby a bribe of 10,000 was demanded from them for their release. It's alleged that the detained individuals were working at the construction site in Witbank. Apparently, the owner of the premises was also contacted to pay for the release of the 13. After a few hours, cash was allegedly paid to the 3 suspects, and that is when they were arrested by members of the police from Mpumalanga's provincial anti-corruption unit. The cash was also confiscated from the possession of the trio as part of the investigation. On Tuesday, the 3 appeared before the Emalahleni Magistrates Court, and they were each granted 2,000 Rand bail. 25 minutes now before 10 a.m. The multi-party coalition government in Tshwane says it inherited a bankrupt metro. After the Auditor General's scathing report on that revealed that the city of Tshwane misrepresented the state of its financial affairs, the coalition is set to meet with the metro executives to pave a way out of the mess. Meanwhile, some of the opposition parties say there must be accountability. They claim the findings reveal gross underrepresentation, including money owed to suppliers. This could impact service delivery in the capital. Finally, how long will Noël de Gaët remain president of the French Football Federation? 81-year-old Legayet was under fire for mismanagement of the organization and accusation of sexual harassment, including sending inappropriate text messages to female colleagues. France's Ministry of Sports has now requested a hearing with him months after it launched a probe into his behavior. The long-standing president of the federation denies the accusations, but he's also facing backlash over comments he made about French football legend Zinedine Zidane. When asked if Zidane could take over as a coach of a national team, Legayet responded that he wouldn't even take Zidane's call. Already controversial and criticized, he said a few days ago that he didn't give a damn about Zidane, making his position at the head of the FFF even more precarious. It was one slip too many, says the French sports minister, Amel Oudéa-Castéra. A president has to embody a certain number of imposed patterns, and I think that he is profoundly lacking in one of them, which is representation and embodiment. And it's the first French sports federation. It is very problematic. Kylian Mbappe, Paris Saint-Germain's star striker, also denounced Legayet's lack of respect for Zidane. Legayet has since apologized for what he dubbed a clumsy remark about Zidane's potential interest in coaching the French national team. The hearing takes place on Tuesday about Legayet, who will then wait until February to see if he still has a job.
This is KNR Radio, according to you.
That brings us to the end of our moment in current affairs. More to come in Moment of Truth.